story. The 2-week co-occupant deadline has been removed. So as you probably remember, on September 23, the Dubai Land Department, the DLD, they issued a circular to tenants and homeowners to register your co-occupants within 2 weeks. Cue panic. Everyone was like, what does it mean? How do we do it? And basically they were told that residents need to declare the number of co-occupants in the home, and other data is optional.
But now the 2-week deadline, which would have ended 2 days ago, has been removed and is no longer applicable. According to Khadij Times, residents must still complete the registration on the Dubai Rest app, but there's no deadline. You can visit the Dubai Rest app to update the number of occupants living with you and who's staying with you and all that. All your personal information is not required.
So now they're looking for, first of all, there's no deadline, so that 2 weeks. So if you haven't done it, just go onto the Rest app and do it now. And you don't need to give the personal information of the people. They just want the number of people in each home. And if you remember, we had Omar Al-Helu, who's a local lawyer, on the show here last week talking about it. And he was basically like, this will improve the fabric of society in future. It's basically all going towards not having over occupancy in buildings. So for example, he uses the word, we want to avoid slums. We want to avoid overcrowding. We want to make sure that the buildings that you're paying to live in continue to have that kind of family feel rather than a packed community feel. So that's what they're trying to avoid.
One of my friends and the apartment he was living in, there was a bunch of people living in one house, which meant an obscene amount of extension cords, which led to a fire in that building. So it's literally to avoid situations like this and just to figure out it's for statistic purposes basically, to figure out how to best navigate how many people are living in X amount of spaces, how to make it as efficient as possible, how to avoid fires in hallways.
How to avoid fires in hallways. And it's super easy to do. We've talked about it before. It's on the Rest app, which I would recommend as a tenant or landlord you have anyway. But speaking of residential and speaking of overexcitement about residential areas,
which I love so much. So the